This is a quick screencast talking about how you can enter HTML in Dreamweaver. So in Dreamweaver, when you have a page open like this, well, actually, you know what? Before I start anything, the first thing that you should do that most people forget about is give your document a title. So what this does actually, and this is a good segue into the next part, is it puts a title for your document and actually writes some HTML for you. So in design view, you can't really see that HTML. So these are the two basic views. You have design view, which I'm in now, which lets you see roughly how the page looks, although I have to say it's not always perfect, and to really know how it looks, you should preview it in a browser. The other view is code view, where you see actually all your HTML. And in code view here, you can see that by typing in Dreamweaver example up here, and I'm going to type some more in, it fills in what's in the title element right there. Okay. So in code view is where actually you're going to be doing a lot of your code in Dreamweaver. And there's different reasons to do the different views. I'm going to start with design view because a lot of people have been using that. In design view, there's sort of some things that it does wrong, or some things that are dangerous, and some things that it does right. So one thing you should know is that by default, when you start typing something, it will put that inside of a paragraph. All right? And so if I go into code view, I see no paragraph here. So it's supposed to, but what we find is that until you hit the enter key, now it put them in a paragraph. All right, so there's some of the little idiosyncrasies that you have to learn about doing stuff in design view and Dreamweaver. So once I hit the enter key, it actually put both of them in the paragraph. So that's all well and good, but one of the things that you want to avoid is down here. This is the properties in Dreamweaver, and a lot of people are used to just highlighting stuff and saying, okay, well, this is going to be aligned right, and I want this to be bold, and let's set this font on it to something else, and a different size and a color. And what happens is when you're doing this, Dreamweaver starts writing stuff for you. And this is definitely not what we want to do in this class. So what we see now in code view, let's move this away here, is that it's added these spans with this class of style 1, which is not a very good name for the class. It gives an align right here, and this is one of the things that we're not going to be doing as well, is we don't want to, if we want to align this to the right, we're going to do it using our cascading style sheets and not putting an align right attribute in the actual tag itself. So basically, in design view, there's only a few things that you can or should use. I'm going to undo this here for a minute. So one is if you want to change it from a paragraph to a heading. All right. You can do that with this. This is one of the things that you can use. So you can say, all right, well, I want that to be a heading. It'll give you pretty much, I'll do it in split view here. It'll do it correctly. It'll just give you a nice H1 element, nothing wrong with it, and that's fine. So this format here is usually pretty fun to use for your paragraph and your heading. Don't use it, you can't really use it for much else. Later on, when we get to styles, this is not a bad way to apply styles. Bold and italic can sometimes get you in trouble. They're often okay. In these alignments, you definitely don't want to use there. And the fonts and the sizes and these colors, those are also ones you don't want to use. Now, another one that can be nice in design view, oops, fingers on the wrong keys, is if you want to make a link to something. So let's say I want that to link to Google's website. I can highlight it, go here to my link, and type in my link. and hit enter, and when I hit enter, what it did is wrote out the anchor tag, ahref equals Google, and so forth. So that can be nice, although we can also see that in code view you can do these as well. Alright, so those are some things to do and not to do. One other little thing, in case you're ever worrying about it, when you hit enter in code view, as I said before, it gives you a new paragraph. If for some reason you want to add a BR element to do a line break to the next line, you do shift enter, and that's a line break to the next line. So I'm going to switch back here. So the shift enter gave me a BR, whereas a normal enter just puts things in a new paragraph. Alright, so let's look at some things that you can do when you're entering in code view. Alright, so code view here allows you to start typing something. So, and as you start typing it in here, it'll give you a list of the different tags that are available. So that's one nice thing, is that pretty much as soon as you hit the less than sign there, you have a whole list. So if you kind of forgot what something was or whatever, you want to look for it, it's there. Unfortunately, it also gives you things that we're not using in here, like font. All right, we're not going to use inline styles like that. So just because it's here doesn't mean that it's legitimate to use and that it's okay. So we're putting in another paragraph here, and the other part I wanted to show you was how it closes elements, which is a smart system. So what it basically does is when you go to close an element and you put the closing slash, I'm going to put the slash here in a second, it looks for the last open element and closes that. So here I hit the slash and it writes the P for me. That means here if I do a slash again, it's going to look for the last open element, which in this case is body, and so it would close it with body. If I put a slash here, it'll put the body in. Alright, and and the same thing if I had another P open as well, or a div or something like that. There's some other pieces that you can do too, and that is with tags that need attributes, right? So for example, the anchor tag has the attribute of href to tell you where the link is to. So if I wanted to link here to this one, I started typing out an anchor tag, when you hit the space after it, it's going to give you a list of the attributes for that element. So href is one, and it even allows you to do things like here, click and browse for another file to put in. So if you had a site where you had other files in here, you could click browse and find that file, and it would give you a link to the file. One thing you should be careful about is not to add that use that browse feature until you've saved your file, because otherwise it'll write the link a little bit weird. That's another. So in other words, sorry, I was just showing you here. You should save your file first before you use the browse feature. And the other part is that you may want to, just for your sake of looking at this later on, use tabs to show what's inside of what. Meaning, all these elements here are inside the body element. So I can hold them, highlight them, hit the tab key, and it will tab them all inside and indent them. And so now if I was ever to have another element, like let's say block quote, I might have a P inside of that, I might tab that over. Right? And then when I hit enter, notice it stayed in line with the element above it here, right? So I hit enter on P and it kept it in line there. So when I close my P, I do it. Now it doesn't go back to block quote again. I have to do my backspace a bit to close out the block quote element. So this is also something that you should probably practice doing. It'll make your code a lot easier to look through. Sometimes also just adding spaces in between things as well can make it easier to look through your code and see what's what when you're trying to look back at your code again. Alright, so that's some basic tips on entering HTML with Dreamweaver.